Welcome to Gentle Hatha Yoga with Divine Journey Yoga. We are going to relax and stretch and warm up our low backs today, as well as our whole bodies, of course. And if you have a part of the body that you know needs a little extra attention or should be resting rather than working, please honor that for yourselves and be creative and give yourself permission and grant your wishes and do all the things that you are good at doing. So here's our mudra for the back. It's called the Anudani Mudra, the gesture of the backbone for back pain and the health of the spine. You just roll your fingers in your hands into a fist, and then you stick out your pinky fingers and let them touch each other right in front of you with your knuckles kind of facing each other, your hands, your palms facing your belly. And I like to rest it right around the level of the navel. I'm just going to take a few deep breaths up and down the spine, feeling that, just awakening that awareness. Now, one of my favorite people to look at when I have an area of the body that is struggling a little bit is Louise Hay. She has a beautiful book called We Can Heal Our Bodies or Heal Our Lives. And this is what she says about the low back. She says, the low back can represent the support of life. It can also represent fear of money, lack of financial support. So I think that's always interesting to think about. Maybe I can let go of some of that fear today, or maybe not. Here's the affirmation that might help a little. I know that life always supports me. I trust the process of life. All I need is always taken care of. I am safe. And just take 2 more breaths. Up and down the spine. And then just wiggling your fingers, rolling your wrists a little bit. And we're gonna move onto our back, and I'm gonna put my legs over my chair. You can put your legs up the wall, you can just rest them on the floor in any position that feels good for you. And this will be our starting point. Resting the low back. That feels wonderful. Take a few deep breaths. You can move back into your mudra if it's easy to hold here if you like it, or you can just let your arms rest. Just breathing. I'd like to offer you a breathing technique, very, very simple one called Relaxation Breath. This is what you do. You just breathe in naturally and breathe out naturally, no extra deepening or lengthening at all. And then you just count 1, 2 at the end of the exhale. And you might do 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, or 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, however you like to count your seconds off. So we'll just do that a couple times together, breathing in and out naturally, and then counting to 2 at the end of the exhale. And you can, of course, keep moving through that breath throughout class today, or just simply taking natural breaths, keeping the body breathing on purpose. Just beginning to wiggle your fingers, opening and closing your hands, maybe lift your hands off the floor and twist the wrists a little. You can widen your arms or stretch them over your head. Keep the low back soft. Take a really gentle upper body stretch here. Inhale and exhale. And as your arms come down, slide your feet to the edge of your chair or just slowly bring your knees toward your body, drawing them in. And we're going to take about 12 breaths here, holding this relaxing, therapeutic child's pose on our back for at least a full minute together. You're welcome to add a little rocking or moving your head or wiggling your toes, anything you like as we breathe. Just 2 more breaths here. And then taking your hands to your kneecaps, just gently rocking your knees away, letting the feet kind of tuck under the chair or right in front of you, and then draw the knees back in. We're moving into our pelvic tilts here. Drawing the knees in, we exhale, pressing them away, we inhale, opening the elbows, letting the low back rock a little bit. And it's okay if your breath gets switched up, just keep moving and breathing. Just a couple more times, rock away and draw the knees in. And then we'll slide the feet back on the chair or set them on the floor, whichever position you are using today. We'll take a breath and then we'll bring our hands behind our head, tuck them under to support the base of the skull, and we're going to move into a little bit of yoga sit-ups. So if your feet are on the floor, don't worry, just keep them there. You can also, of course, lift the legs up. That will engage the core a lot more if you're holding your legs in this chair position without a chair. That's a lot of work, which I'm not going to do today. And I'm going to take a deep breath in this relaxing position, my back soft. And on the exhale, I'm going to lift my head and shoulders, look at my knees, and then rock my shoulder to the left, and then come back, still exhaling, and lay back down. Finish the exhale. Inhale in the resting position. And on the exhale, we move by lifting up, rocking over, rocking to center, and laying back. So all the movement is on the exhale. Take another breath in. And sitting up, rolling over, exhaling, exhaling, and lying down. Just keep going on your own. We're looking for maybe 4 or 5 times for each side. Or when you feel like you've had enough. That's also a good place to stop. You could move back into your Apanasana, that opening and closing of the knees, or just rest. And I think I'm finished. Resting, letting the arms go wide. Take a few deep breaths in the nose and out the mouth. You might reach your arms over your head for a moment, wiggle your fingers, roll the wrists, and wiggle your toes. And then we'll just bring the knees into the chest and rock a little side to side. And we're going to do 2 variations here. We're going to do the rocking twist where the legs are hovering above the floor, using a little bit of that core strength and stretching up through the side. Feels so good to stretch through those ribs. I like to have my arms on the floor. You can hold on to your legs the whole time. Anything that feels supportive. And eventually we are going to roll all the way over to one side and let the knees come to the floor, reaching back behind us with the arm that's away from the knees. Take a big deep breath. And then softening on the exhale, we roll back to center and then roll to the other side. reaching out with the inhale. And rolling back to center on the exhale. And just rocking a little side to side. You can let your head rock away. And we'll do that one more time. We're going to let the knees rock all the way to one side. And if it feels like too much, you can put a block between the knees or under the outer leg as well. Inhale into the stretch across the chest. Rolling to center, trying to link that movement with your exhale, and then rolling to the other side for that inhale. And back up to center. Just rocking a little side to side. I want to move into our bridge pose, so we're going to have to scoot the chair away or scoot ourselves up the mat or just roll over and reposition. I'm going to let my cat in because he's driving me crazy at the door here. Come on in, crazy guy. Okay, so for bridge pose, we're on our back, knees bent in a comfortable position. Maybe rock a few times those windshield wipers, just allowing the low back that rejuvenation, neutralization, and hydration. All those shuns, that's pretty good. And we'll move into a really slow bridge pose today. Hello, cat. I'm going to move only on the exhale. So positioning yourself, arms down by your sides. And on the inhale on the back, inhaling deeply. Exhaling, lifting the hips off the floor, staying for the inhale, and then exhaling to lower the hips to the ground. Good. Taking a deep inhale, you might rock your pelvis a little, and then exhaling, lifting the back as one piece off the floor, full exhale. Inhale into the belly, and exhale, lower down. Just keep going on your own. We're going to do 4 or 5 repetitions. Feel free to add that little rocking of the pelvis. And if you get confused, don't worry, just smile a little bit and let yourself refocus, focusing back on lifting on the exhale and lowering on the exhale. Really slowing it down. Repositioning the feet when you need to for the comfort of the knees. One more time. Softening, rocking the legs, lengthening out your back, and then beginning to stretch the legs out one by one so they're side by side on the mat. You can take your arms over the head, long, soft, full body stretch. You don't even have to pull or push anything, just breathe. And then soften the arms down by your sides and take a couple of those relaxation breaths in this little savasana moment. Inhale, exhale naturally, and then just count to 2 at the end of that exhale. One more time. Bending the knees again to rock them side to side, windshield wipers. I'm going to look around for my strap. Then we'll do a little hamstring stretch. When you feel ready, you're just going to wrap the strap around the ball of the right foot first, knee deeply bent. And then begin to stretch the leg up toward the sky, a little bend in the knee, keeping the foot right over the hip here. And then start to stretch the other leg out. And you don't have to stretch it all the way. You can keep the knee bent if you like. Just feeling the stretch up the back of the strap leg and maybe a little bit of a stretch across the front of the hip of the leg on the ground. Just breathing deeply. You can add a little rocking if you like. You could also just be holding on behind your thigh with the knee a little more bent. Anything you like that works here. We're just going to take about 5 deep breaths, focusing on the back of the leg, trying to soften it as we stretch it. And the muscles are still engaged a little along that big femur bone in the thigh. A little bit of work in those toes, just barely. Taking those deep breaths. One more breath here. Rebend the leg that's on the floor. Plant that foot. Take the strap off of the right leg and just let the foot float down. You might stretch it out. You might rock a little. Just letting the leg softly release that stretch. Slowly picking up the left foot to wrap the strap around the ball of that foot. Now this is also fun to do in a doorway. I know it's kind of a funky place to do this. Sometimes it'll work in a hallway. What you would do is your strap leg would be along the edge of the door frame and the other leg would be stretched down on the floor. And you can go ahead and stretch that leg if you like. And you would just rest the leg against the door frame. You could just rest your leg here in the strap. Breathing, softening the leg, letting the muscles know it's safe to stretch. One more breath. Rebending the foot that's on the floor or the knee that's down there and slowly taking the strap away, letting the long legs stretch and rock. And we're just going to rock ourselves over onto our side, pausing to breathe and rest. See how our hips feel, maybe rock them a little and slowly push up to a seated position. And maybe grab a blanket or a bolster or something to sit up on to support your low back. We're gonna do a little bit of foot yoga, or I've heard it called toga. So we'll see how this goes. I wanna do this today because our feet are our foundation. Strong feet and ankles leads to balanced knees and strength in the knees, and then balance and strength in the hips, and then that core engagement as well. So everything rolls upward here. So we're just gonna wiggle our toes for a minute and then just bend one knee and see if you can grab the foot with the opposite hand. You can cross it over the thigh, you can pull it in wherever you like. Try to thread your fingers between your toes. Now you might just get to the top knuckle, that's okay. We're just gonna try to open these toes up a little bit. So I'm gonna first pull the toes a little and then push them back a little. Just rocking, you can hug that toe box, roll it back and forth just a little bit, and then start to kind of roll it in a little circle. And it's kind of amazing how much mobility there is in our feet, even if they feel stiff. It's amazing. They are not a long one bone, you know, they are many, many bones, many, many ligaments there. And then you'll slide your foot off your leg just a little bit more so you can get some rolling in the ankle as well. And just leaning forward here, it's okay to slouch a little bit, or maybe just look up a little higher, soften those shoulders, roll them a little. Keep rolling the foot in one direction and then go in the other. And maybe wiggle those toes on the other leg for a breath. And then slowly release, stretch that leg out. Notice the difference. You can even look and see a little bit of light between your toes, and then grab the other foot and try it on the other side. It's really important to have width between our toes because everything's connected. And our shoes, of course, they don't help us here. All those beautiful pointy shoes, not a good idea for our feet. So the more flattening, spreading you can do. Have you seen those flip-flops that have the spacers between the toes? Those are great. You can wear those around the house. And it takes time, lots and lots of time to wake up our feet, especially if we've been using them for a long time, you know, depending on our ages. Rolling the feet, moving the toe box, just to take a couple more breaths. Relaxing the foot here, stretching it out. Ooh, feel those toes, wiggle them. And then just bend the knees, rock a little. And we're gonna roll all the way onto our bellies. And just do one quick back bend this morning. Can't do back work without back bends, at least in my opinion. I kept looking and looking in the back care book, where are the back bends? They're not in there. So this is me adding this in this morning. I am not a doctor. I'm not a physical therapist. I am a person with a back. So this is what I like. If you don't like it, please just lay flat. That's therapeutic for our backs as well, to just be on our tummies a little bit. I like to widen my feet a bit here. Lengthen out across those hip flexors. I'm just gonna breathe in Sphinx Pose. You're also welcome to do a little cobra. Hands planted right under your shoulders, rolling them back. That's going to really engage the back muscles. That is not necessary. What I'm looking for is more of a stretch than a workout this morning. I like to dig my elbows into the floor and pull a little bit, getting a little traction in that low back, and maybe drop the head and take a few more breaths. Starting to contemplate pushing up to table and then back into child's pose, curling the toes, walking the hips in just a little, and then starting to crawl the elbows in as the hips get higher and higher. We just kind of crawl through up into child's pose, wide across the knees, big toes coming together, sinking back, lots of room for the body between the legs. You can rock a little, just enjoy stretching the body this morning. Take some deep breaths. Let the head rest on the floor. Slowly come up. I'm going to keep my knees apart and my elbows pretty much right where they are, maybe crawling them just an inch or two forward, and do my shoulder twist. Taking one hand behind the other elbow, dropping down onto the shoulder. Upper back twist here, and I like to rock a little forward and back, side to side, anything that feels right for you. And slowly unwind and try the other side. Back up to our elbows, and then as we come to our hands, starting to walk the knees together. This is where I'm going to slide my blanket under my knees for that support. Cat and cow, of course. How could we not do cat and cow from this wonderful position? I do want to move into just a little bit of core work here, extended cat, and I'm also going to be using my blocks pretty soon, so I'm going to get them ready. We'll start off with our extended cat or bird dog. The back is neutral, not up or down, just kind of long. Knees are under the hips, hands are under the shoulders, fingers spread wide apart. I know my chair is behind me, so I'm going to be careful not to kick it. I'm going to start to reach back with my right leg. I might even rest my foot on my chair. That'll take a little bit more of a work out of it, so it's more of a stretch. And then we can add the opposite hand if and when we're ready. Lengthening, breathing, drawing the belly button up toward the spine, and gazing down for a couple of breaths. Coming down Twisting out the wrist real quick that we were just leaning on, and then stretching out the other leg. Balancing there, hips are level, and reaching out with the opposite hand when you like, if you like. Long neck, shoulders are on the back. Pull the belly toward the sky. Keep breathing. And relax. Come on down. I'm going to sit on my heels. You're welcome to sit into child's pose instead. I'm going to sit up a little bit if this is okay for your knees. Rock a little. Now this is optional, this next little movement. I'm so curious to see how it feels for you. This is going to be what I'm going to call a lift, a kneeling lift, and we're not going to lean forward and then come up like we usually do. What we're going to try to do is keep everything in line from the knees to the hips to the shoulders to the head. So we're just going to lift up out of the kneeling position and then come back down. And right away, the sides of those knees wake up, the thighs. If that hurt, don't do it again. If you liked it, try it a couple more times. Lift with your heart. Lift from the middle of your chest so that there's that movement upward rather than forward. Woo, that's enough of that for me. Okay, and then we're back to table pose. Rocking the pelvis, swinging the hips a little bit. We're going to move toward a nice kneeling lunge. So I'm going to grab my blocks. I want my shoulders higher than my hips here. I'm going to walk my blocks off to the left first, so bring my right foot forward, and then I'll bring the blocks on either side of the foot now at their tallest setting so that my shoulders are even higher. But you see there's a little bit of an angle from my back knee to my hip, so I'm going to walk back a little bit, scoot the front foot in a little bit so that I can be stacking. Everything is in 90-degree angles here. Front knee, the hips, the shoulders, that bottom knee, everything is in 90-degree angles. And I'm just going to plant my hand on my thigh. You can also have your blocks beside you. I'm going to do some pelvic tilts. That's it. Barely pull the belly in and then barely let the belly roll forward. Just really little movement here. And you'll feel it when you pull your belly in, that quad on the standing knee wakes up. You could also be holding onto your chair. We're just going to take a couple more breaths. You can add the arms lifted if you want a little more balance work. And slowly coming down to the blocks. I'm going to lift my back leg off the floor for just, not my back leg, just the knee. Curling the toes under to lift the knee off the floor and open it up just to ease it for a moment. And then bring it back down, the blocks to the inside of the front foot, stepping back. Coming down maybe to just table, maybe child's pose, or sitting, kneeling, whatever you like. Just a quick break. And then we're back on our blocks, walking them over to the right this time so the left foot can come up. Blocks on either side of the foot as we start to stack everything in 90-degree angles. Walk that front foot in a little, good. Sitting up. And then just everything in a line from the knee on the floor to the hip to the shoulder to the head, and then the pelvic tilts. Pull the belly in and then let it drop forward. You can feel that movement in that quad. Ooh. Inhaling as the belly rolls open or forward, and exhaling as we pull it in. Of course, you can have the arms lifted if you like, or you can just keep them on your blocks. 2 more breaths. Hands coming down to the floor. We're going to lift the back knee, curling those toes, and we're going to step that back foot forward. We're stepping right forward into our standing forward fold, deep bend in the knees so the back stays flat. Elbows can slide right onto the thighs. Deep breaths on the back of the body. And slowly, slowly standing up, all the way up. Great work. I'm going to just push my blocks aside. Take my blanket off the mat, clearing everything off here. Just going to swing my hips a little bit side to side. Now we're going to do a little more toga, a little more toe yoga this morning. Now I have my chair right here or the wall, something to hold on to because we will be leaning into one foot a little more. This will be beginning of our balance practice this morning. So we're going to focus on the big toe. We're just going to tuck it under all by itself, and the other toes are gonna stick out, and we're just barely gonna lift our heel and lower the heel a couple times. And the weight is in the other leg. Most of the weight is leaning into the standing leg. A little bend in the knee. Hold on to something if you need to. Good. And then flatten the foot and try the other big toe, just the big toe. The other toes are spreading out in front. Looks a little bit funny. I showed my kids this yesterday. My 20-year-old son could not stop laughing. He thought it looked hilarious. Okay, both feet flat. Now we're gonna just tuck all the little toes under, and the big toe is gonna point out. And again, we're just gonna lift and lower the heel a few times. We're trying to just get a little bit of juice into those little toe knuckles. Stretching across the top of the foot. And let that foot flatten and tuck the other little toes under, up and down. Just a few times, not a lot of weight in the toes that we're stretching. And then relax. And now we're just gonna do the whole foot. We're gonna tuck all the toes under, roll into those knuckles, just gently lifting and lowering the heel, rolling into the front of the foot just a little bit. If you've done any ballet, your knuckles might remember this. Make sure that standing knee doesn't lock up on you. Go ahead and switch sides when you're ready. Nice work. And now we're ready for our standing poses. We are going to come and face our chair. This is where I'm going to use a chair. You do not have to. And I'm going to just take a few knee bends, just juicing up the knees and the hips, going down toward chair pose, and then rising back up again. And if for any reason it hurts the first time you do it, do not do it again. Maybe just shift your weight a little side to side, forward and back. Do some body circles. And then we'll come to stillness. And I'm just gonna pick my right foot up and place it on the chair. And I'm gonna do a little twist. So if you're not using a chair, if you'd prefer not to, just put your hands on your hips and turn yourself to the right. Those of you with your foot on a surface here in front of you, you can cross the opposite hand over. You could lean a little bit into the twist, maybe the other arm out. Take a big breath in. And on the exhale, turn forward and step down. Shift side to side, and then ball of the foot to the heel, and then pick up the other foot, place it on the support, and turn to the left in the twist. Maybe lean a little, and then back up again, and relax. Step the feet on the floor, swing side to side, turn away from the chair for a moment, and with your feet at a comfortable position, not close together, like right under the shoulders, right under the hips. Plant your palms on your outside of your hips. Lean your head back a little bit and just drop your chin forward. Stretch the back of your neck. Squeeze your shoulder blades just a little, just gently. And then lift the chin parallel to the floor. Lean your ear to one shoulder. Ah, yes. Come back up to center. Lean to the other side. Be engaged in your legs, but still at ease. So there's balancing position here. Come back up, and now turn your head and look over one shoulder, back through center and over the other shoulder, and back to center. Nice work. Swinging your legs side to side. Start to widen your feet apart, and I'm going to use my chair here so my foot is in front of the chair, and you have to find this for yourself where you want to be in relation to that chair. I'm going to turn my toes toward the chair, so that's my right foot, and maybe the toes go under the front of the chair. I'm not sure yet, because as I bend my knee, I'm going to know where that chair should be. I'm at an okay position. I don't want to be pushing on the chair with my knee. And I'm going to move right into my side angle by putting my hand on the chair, rolling the upper shoulder back so that it's right above the bottom shoulder, right above the thigh, right above the knee. Everything is stacked here. And the arm can lift up. And you can pull the belly in, lengthen through the head and out through the foot. That's stretching out there. This is our full side angle pose. Take another deep breath. Lowering the upper hand to the hip, if it's not there already, come up onto the fingertips on the chair and straighten out the knee. If it feels okay, you might even need to come up a little higher to straighten out the long leg. This is triangle pose. Now, if you want to go deeper, you could flatten the hand onto the chair, walk a little deeper if that feels good. Still having shoulders stacked one over the other, or as if you were leaning on a wall and the whole back could feel the wall behind you. Take another big breath. Use your core here. Draw it in. And as you relax, start to bend the knee. Good. Move your hand in toward the front of the chair. We're gonna move toward our half moon pose. So that back foot is gonna come up onto the toes, or maybe heel toe in a few times. I might grab the back of the chair now. I'm moving toward that crazy balance. Of course, my chair is falling over. You might have to step away from the chair a little, might reposition a little, coming into that side balance. And you don't even have to do that. You could just lean, maybe come up onto the toes, up and down from the heel, or you could just be done with this whole pose. Good. We're just gonna lift up and stand. That standing leg is probably really tired. All right, I'm gonna switch my chair to the other end of my mat. Of course, you can just turn the other direction. And we start with that wide angle. Take a couple deep breaths here. Nice and strong, that mountain engagement. And then turning now the left toes out, turning them toward my chair, bending into the knee. This looks like warrior two. The outer edge of the back foot rolls outward, planting the hand on the chair for the side angle. And I want that knee that's near the chair to be right over the ankle. So I'm stacking that joint. You can readjust in the hips, moving into your pose. Pull the belly in. Lift through the crown of the head, stretch down and out through the leg on the floor. Take a few breaths through your nose if you can. Lowering the top arm to the hip, straightening the bottom knee, maybe lifting up a little higher. You can lean back into the chair as you get into the straightening of that front leg. Drawing the belly in. It's almost like a pelvic tilt. We're not tucking the tailbone at all. We're just pulling the stomach muscles inward, right under the waistband there. And of course, you could add the arm here in triangle. Breathing. And then re-bending the knee. Now this is where we can move into our half moon. I'm gonna heel toe the back foot in a little bit. I might step the front foot back a little, readjusting as I start to step away from the floor. And you might just stay right on the toes, just up and down from the heel to the toe, engaging the belly as much as you need to, falling in and out of the shape as many times as you need to. And coming right up. My hip won't stop cramping. So that's enough of that. I hope you honor that for yourselves as well. Taking a few deep breaths. Let's just swing the arms forward and back a little bit. Swing the hips. Take some steps. I'm gonna turn toward my chair. Plant the hands on the chair for our table pose out of chair. This feels pretty great. This is always the alternative you can come to if your knees are needing a break. And we're just gonna tip the tailbone up and down a few times, round the spine, exhale, drop the belly, open the heart to inhale. You can add the head movement as well if you like. Little bend in the knees. And then neutralizing the back, long line. Start to step the feet further and further back, pressing the shoulders away from the chair, lengthening into down dog at the chair. Feels like such a good stretch. And your feet might be under your hips still, or they might be further back. It's all good. Bend the knees deeply as you bring your fingers to the floor. You can walk back into full down dog or just drop those knees to the ground for table pose. Cat and cow, just dip the tailbone up and down. And then maybe the hips go to one side or the knees crawl through, coming to a seated position, and then rolling onto your side. There we go. Anything that feels right for you. Windshield wipers, stretching out, And we're just gonna finish up with working on the sacrum, the sacroiliac joint, and a little bit of sciatica work as well, stretching out the glutes. So we'll start with the feet on the floor, the knees bent, arms wherever they feel good to you, head pointing upward, nose pointing toward the sky, picking up the right foot and just placing it in front of the left thigh, my ankle bone touching the left thigh, flattening the foot so that it stays strong, engaging the ankle and the shin a little bit, rocking just slightly, a little more deeply over toward the right so my hip can come off the floor as I rock. And then over to the other side, just a little bit of air under the hip and back to center, just a couple of times doing that. And you can move with the breath. We want to always be exhaling into the twist here, coming back, finishing the exhale. Take a breath in the middle, moving on the exhale. Maybe once or twice more to each side. And if you like, you can just stay right here, rocking, enjoying the work in the legs, or you could pick the foot up off the floor, draw the legs towards you. You could grab hold of knee and foot that's right in front of you. This is gonna deepen the stretch into that piriformis area where the sciatica often lives. Or you can slide a hand between the legs, grabbing the thigh of the leg that's under, drawing the legs in that way. And again, you can add the rock, or you could stay still. You might even lift the long foot in the air, roll it around a little. Look at those beautiful toes that we stretched out. Breathing deeply. Starting to release, we're just gonna slide the legs together, moving into our shoelace pose. And you might bring the foot to the floor here, crossing the thighs and rocking. You can also have the knees into the chest. We're gonna go there in a minute as well. Just rocking. The foot that's on the floor is probably pretty centered. And you might rock all the way to one side and let the toe tap the ground and roll all over toward the other side. Not all the way, just be gentle with your hips here. Paying attention to the low back, using your core, a little bit of strength. Coming back to center. Now if you're not there already, you can pick your knees up if you want to. Grab hold in front of the knees, or maybe spread the feet apart a little bit. Rock there, breathing. Eventually setting the foot on the floor, we're going to take the leg that's on top, and as we uncross it, we're going to stretch the bottom leg out and move into tree pose on our back. So the right knee that was on top is now the right knee that is wide, the sole of the right foot on the inside of the left leg. Maybe the arms stretch upward into a V shape. The arms float down. You can pick that right knee up again and start to roll it over the body, grabbing hold with the opposite hand, rolling over into your knee over twist. Nice deep stretch. And then relaxing right back into tree pose, but making it now into a butterfly. Soles of both feet coming together, rearranging those hips, rocking a little, and then settling into the knees open, the hips relaxed. You might tuck your hands behind your head if you want a little upper chest stretch too. Couple of deep breaths into the belly. Wiggling your toes a little. You can tickle your feet with your feet. And then plant the feet on the floor. You can leave your hands behind your head if you like it, or you can take them out whenever you want. I'm just gonna rock windshield wiper. I can really tell a difference in that right hip. You might roll it around a little, pick it up, stretch it out. We'll see how it feels. And then we'll move into the other side of the sequence. We'll pick up the left foot, maybe put it in front of the right thigh, the ankle on the thigh, rocking gently, letting one hip roll off the floor. And then the other, using the core just a little bit here. After after you've rocked a few times, 2 or 3 times to each side, feel free to stay or begin to pick the legs up, bringing them towards you, bringing that bent knee towards you, grabbing foot or knee, or sliding the hand between the legs for the thread the needle here. Stretching into now that outside of the other hip. It's great to close your eyes and go inside a little, but then take a break from that and open the eyes and look around a little. See your toes. They are right here, right now. Take another few breaths. And then lowering the foot to the floor. If it's not there already, just go ahead and slide the legs together. You can keep them in towards you if you prefer. I'm going to just rock with my foot on the floor first, feeling the weight shifting all the way into one hip and then all the way into the other one. Sometimes I'll point the toe that's on top there and let it catch me as I rock to one side or the other. Don't overdo the stretch that rocks toward the side of the leg on top. So right now my left leg is on top. When I roll to that side, I have to be really careful because the weight of that leg is pulling across that hip and into the low back right there, so be gentle. And eventually you can pull the knees in if you haven't already. Just adding that outer hip stretch. We're going to move nice and slow into our tree pose. So the bottom foot touches the floor and starts to stretch that leg out as the other leg opens. The sole of the foot slides to the inside of the long leg. You can add the arms if you want to. V shape, deep breath. As the hands float down, you can start to pick up the knee that's bent to the side, lift it up and cross it over the body, taking hold with your opposite hand. So right hand is coming to that left knee, rolling it over. Nice knee over twist here, deep breath. Rolling yourself back open right into butterfly, where we're just going to breathe into our belly. You can slide the hands behind the head. Soften. While you're resting in butterfly, start to plan your shavasana. Think about what you're going to do. I'm definitely going to use my chair. You could use anything you like. You guys know your props. You know what you like. Listen to your low back, and you might try one position and then think, nah, I want to try a different one. Give yourself permission to move around until you find that wonderful spot for you. I'm just going to scoop my chair in a little bit. Get the knees up over that. Scoot around till you feel comfy. And settle. And then relax. Relaxation, honestly, is the key to it all. And sometimes it's really hard to relax. So just take any time you need, wiggle it out a little more. Maybe you take a break and move, and then you go back into stillness again. Honoring your intuition, your impulse. The body sends impulses because it knows what it needs. Sometimes it needs to shake. Sometimes it needs to spasm. Sometimes it needs to sleep. Feel free to say, ah, as you breathe out a couple of times. You might put the pinky fingers together, curl the other fingers in a gentle fist, just resting that right on your belly, that low back mudra. And I'll walk us through a meditation here with this mudra in mind. You don't even have to hold it. You can just remember what it felt like as you are resting in your shavasana today. Feel free to tune me out. Float away. You don't have to listen to the whole thing or even any of it at all. Just let the words float by. remembering that beautiful affirmation from Louise Hay. I know that life always supports me. I trust the process of life. All I need is always taken care of. I am safe. Just sense your breath as a wave of relaxation and ease that flows freely throughout the entire back of your body. With each inhalation, this wave rises up from your low back, up to the top of your neck. And with each exhaling breath, this gentle wave descends, releasing the tension. By directing this wave of breath to each part of your back, you will bring greater lightness and ease to the entire back of your body. For your next few breaths, sense your lower back being nourished by the waves of relaxation and ease, deepening your sense of comfort and well-being, feeling that rootedness, the base of your spine, the part of you that's resting on the floor. Now your waves of breath move the middle of the back. With each inhale, sensing the lower ribs expanding gently. And as you exhale, the softness moving downward, bathing the entire middle region of your body. Feeling and sensing the tension releasing, allowing your mid-back to let go. Now directing your breath into the upper back, all the way up to the shoulders, the curve of the neck. With each inhale, sensing the space being created between your shoulder blades. And with each exhalation, allowing them to release down toward the floor, down toward the lower back as well. Sensing the greater lightness and ease, allowing all the tension to release from the upper back, the area between the shoulder blades. And finally, allowing the head to be heavy on the floor. Maybe the chin lifts ever so slightly, so the curving in the neck is accentuated just a little bit, letting it soften. Sensing the wave of the breath flowing smoothly and freely, allowing greater comfort and ease to the entire back of your body, from the neck, through the shoulders, the curving of the mid-back, and down into that arching of the low back. And just breathe here, feeling safely supported by the floor. Have a few more minutes of quiet to simply breathe. Take a few more deep breaths. Feel free to join me, just humming or oming as you gently and kindly move back to a seated position. Resting your hands in your lap or bringing them together at your heart. Namaste. Thank you guys.